All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling electronics engineering. We've got some really cool stuff from RoleCatcher, like, career guides, interview tips, even how AI is playing a role in hiring these days. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, we're going way beyond just what the job description says. Think of this as your raid map, whether you're just starting out or, getting for that next promotion. We'll unpack the skills you need and the trends that are going to shape, the future of the field.
Love it. So let's start with the basics. What does an electronics engineer actually do? We all use electronics every single day, but what's the magic happening behind the scenes?
Well, they're kind of like the architects of our digital world. Those tiny circuits in your phone, the complex systems in like your car, all that stuff starts with an electronics engineer. They use physics, math, and like a deep understanding of electronics to design, develop, test the whole nine yards.
And this impacts so many industries, right? It's not just like consumer tech, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. Think telecommunications, aerospace, even things like medical devices, renewable energy. I mean, if it's got a circuit board in it, chances are an electronics engineer was involved.
And here's the thing. RoleCatcher, the source we're diving into today, mentions a projected 3% growth rate in this field between 2019 and 2029.
Wow, that's huge. It is. But, it's not like this across-the-board growth. Some areas, particularly those tied to AI, are absolutely booming, which means, of course, higher salaries, but also a lot more competition.
So it's a smart career move, but you really got to be strategic. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. What does it really take to be an electronics engineer? It's got to be more than just like textbook knowledge,
But
right?
that's telling me, while understanding those electronics principles, like circuit design, even programming, it's all essential, but it's just the tip of the iceberg, really. RoleCatcher really hammers home the importance of complex problem solving and critical thinking.
Why are those skills so crucial in this field specifically? We're talking about a field that's constantly evolving.
Exactly. It's like, imagine you've designed a circuit board, a PCB, for a new smartphone, right? Sounds pretty straightforward on the surface. But now you've got to factor in miniaturization, power efficiency, signal integrity. It's like designing a microscopic city on a circuit board. That's where problem solving and creativity really come together.
So it's not enough to just know the answers. It's about knowing how to find them, and often in ways that nobody's even thought of before.
Exactly.
And that leads us to another point our source emphasizes: continuous learning. This isn't a field where you can just, learn once and coast.
Oh, tell me about it. I remember when I first started out, fresh out of uni, I thought I'd do everything. Then I went to this conference and saw a presentation on flexible circuit design, and it completely blew my mind.
Wow.
It really hit me then that this field is evolving so rapidly that staying curious, staying up to date, that's really the key to, not just surviving, but thriving.
It's like the Wild West out there, always a new gadget on the horizon. Speaking of new, let's talk about actually landing a job in this field. RoleCatcher talks a lot about the job hunt, and it sounds like AI is changing the game.
It's a whole different world now.
Really?
You're not just competing with other humans anymore, Your resume, it's getting analyzed by algorithms now. They're looking for keywords, specific skills, things that perfectly match the job description.
So it's not enough to just be good. You got to be good on paper, too.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
How can tools like RoleCatcher help with that, especially in this AI-driven world?
Think of RoleCatcher as your secret weapon, right? It analyzes job postings, kind of like a code breaker. It figures out what those AI gatekeepers, the algorithms, are looking for.
Clever.
Yeah, and that helps you tailor your resume and cover letter to make sure you're speaking the right language, literally. Got to get past the bots to get in front of a human, right? Makes sense.
So you've conquered the AI overlords. You've landed an interview. RoleCatcher gives these examples of interview questions, and some of them are really out there. It's like they're trying to see how you think, not just, what you know.
Oh, for sure. Remember that thing I mentioned about flexible circuits? That came from an interview.
No way.
Yeah. They wanted to see if I was curious, if I was keeping up with the latest tech. It's about showing that spark, that passion, the stuff you don't get from textbooks.
So you can't just ace the technical stuff. You got to showcase your enthusiasm and drive.
Absolutely. They might ask about your process for troubleshooting a complex system or your experience with a specific microcontroller. This is your time to shine. Don't just say, oh, yeah, I'm good at that. Tell them a story.
Give them the behind-the-scenes action.
Exactly. Remember that project where the faulty microcontroller was wreaking havoc? Talk about the steps you took to isolate that problem, how you analyzed the code, the aha moment when you finally cracked it.
Make it memorable.
Exactly.
It's almost like being a detective of the electronics world, except your clues are lines of code and circuit diagrams.
And just like a good detective, you need to be able to explain your deductions, but, clearly and concisely. RoleCatcher also talks about the importance of safety and regulatory standards in design.
That's a side of electronics engineering we don't always see, making sure these incredible inventions are safe for people, for the environment.
It's about designing responsibly. Think about medical devices, for instance. It's not just circuits and sensors, it's people's lives. You need to understand the ethical implications of your work.
You're not just building a product, you're building trust.
Exactly. It's a huge responsibility. But it's also what makes this field so rewarding. You're not just building gadgets, you're building a better future.
Right. So we've talked about skills, the job hunt, even ethics. But what about the person behind the circuits? What kind of mindset does it take to really thrive as an electronics engineer?
You've got to love a good puzzle. It's a field that's constantly challenging you, throwing curveballs, making you think outside the box. And remember, the most elegant solutions are often the simplest.
Easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. Finding that simplicity, it can be a wild ride.
It's about embracing the unknown. Those moments where you're staring at a jumble of wires and code thinking, how did I get here?
And then, suddenly, it clicks. That aha moment when everything falls into place. But it's not always easy. You need tenacity, that refusal to give up.
Yeah.
Even when the circuits are fried and the deadline is looming.
To perseverance, adaptability, maybe a little touch of mad scientist.
And a good sense of humor. Trust me, you're going to need it. But even with all the challenges, it's incredibly rewarding to see your creations come to life, knowing you had a hand in making a difference in the world, one circuit at a time.
It really is amazing to see an idea come to life like that. And speaking of bringing things to life, let's talk about, the job market itself. RoleCatcher has some really interesting insights on things like salary, job postings, even negotiation tips like, what's the inside scoop on that side of electronics engineering?
Well, the biggest thing is to, arm yourself with information. Before you even think about applying for a job, do your research. Look at salary ranges for your experience level, your location.
Okay.
Sites like Glassdoor, those are your best friends.
Oh, yeah.
They give you a reality check on what to expect, so you're not going into a negotiation blindfolded.
Right. Know your worth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, that 3% industry growth we talked about, that's your leverage. But salary isn't everything. Right?
Definitely not. Benefits matter, too.
Huge.
Healthcare, retirement plans, that paid time off, to recharge after a big project.
Oh, yeah. Don't underestimate those perks. And here's one a lot of people overlook. Professional development.
Oh, interesting.
Does the company invest in your growth? Tuition reimbursement, conferences, mentorship programs, those are golden tickets.
It's like finding a company that sees you as an investment, not just like another cog in the machine.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
A company that challenges you, that values what you bring to the table, that aligns with where you want to go.
That's the dream.
Right. You want to be excited to go to work every day knowing you're part of something bigger.
Absolutely. It's about finding that place where your passion for electronics, that engineering drive, meets real-world impact.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that kind of brings us full circle. What does it actually mean to be an electronics engineer today?
Right.
After all this, it's about, it's about having those technical jobs, absolutely. But it's also about creative problem solving, that constant hunger to learn new things. And yeah, a little bit of that mad scientist spirit doesn't hurt.
A little bit of magic.
Exactly.
It's about taking those circuits, those sensors, and actually building the future one innovation at a time.
That's it. And to anyone out there listening who feels that spark, that curiosity, that drive to build something amazing, don't ignore it.
Right.
Dive in head first. This field needs you. It needs your passion, your creativity, your willingness to, really push the boundaries.
Because the future is waiting to be built, and electronics engineers, you guys are on the front lines.
That's it.
A huge thank you to our expert for, taking us on this incredible deep dive.
The pleasure was all mine. Keep those circuits humming.
And to you, our listeners, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time as we explore a whole new world of knowledge.